Yep. The meeting will come to order. Tax Committee, December 5, 2017, 9 a.m. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Crumley.
Present.
Kochnow.
Present.
Awful. Here. Persley.
Present.
Whitlow.
Here.
Sticknot.
Here. Motion to approve the agenda.
So be it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. A year ago, when this board was seated, we voted unanimously to conduct the meeting according to Robert's Rules of Order, and we will attempt to do that today. Take a few moments to look over the claims. Everybody done? Is there a motion to approve the claims and send them to county board for approval? So moved. Okay, is there a second? Barb? Discussion on the claims. Comments?
I got a question, I guess.
Okay.
On the last page here, we now have we haven't been operating with a license from the Illinois Department of Agriculture. We just now got those licenses, or is that only due?
That was
every year, or what is that?
That was the fee to apply for a license.
Apply for?
Yeah, we did not know we needed a license until recently, and we immediately worked to correct that problem. That's what it's for. And the license is application, it's in process, the state has it.
Through the Department of Agriculture?
Yes,
Correct.
they have to do some inspections, so to speak, or they'll issue it. Any other discussion? Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Carmody?
Yes.
Kopenauer?
Yes.
Pothole? Yes. Persley?
Yes.
Whitlow? Signat?
Yes. Okay, it's time for public comments. A couple of the rules for public comment is if you've spoken on a particular topic in the last 2 months, you have to wait 2 months. There's 5 minutes allotted in a total of 30. So if there's anything new to add to the comments from the previous month, that would be okay. Anyone? Public comments?
I'd like to have a couple of comments. I've done some FOIAs, as you know, and I've shown that Dr. Yusuf was euthanized 116 dogs before Jamie was hired. But what everybody fails to realize, we paid him $75 a dog, a total of $8,700. That was a great income killing those dogs. Also, you keep referring to Jamie as a contract employee. She's not a contract employee. She never had a contract. John sure knows that because he checked with Anita and found out. That's the same. He asked her, where's your contract? You know who failed to provide the contract? Iroquois County. Our state's attorney agreed he was going to draw up the contract but failed to do it. That's why she never had one. Made her an at-will employee. I sat in the office with Jamie. He said, you don't have a contract. That makes you an at-will employee. I heard him speak those words right out of his mouth, and I testified to it in court.
Any other comments? Jamie, do you have anything to add this month that you didn't last month?
Yeah, give me a quick moment. All right, I have a couple comments that I'd like to make. Just briefly, I can follow up more on it next week, but first of all, I do want to state, within the last year, I have not had any meetings and discussion regarding my job performance. No documentation provided to me of that. The first couple months I started, there was an issue where I did have a meeting with Dr. Yusuf, where I was made to sign something that I did not agree with, because I don't agree that I was completely responsible for the situation, but that's really kind of besides the point. Within this last year, there has been no job performance issues. I did not, like I said, there was nothing discussed with me about my job performance. And when I was terminated, I asked for documentation of my job performance. They had nothing to provide to me. You know yourself, they had nothing to provide at last month's tax committee meeting. They also, then a week later, even though they were asked for it, had nothing to provide to you at the full county board meeting. So for some reason, it's taken them over a month to come up with this documentation. Also, while we're on the topic of job performance, I would just kind of like to talk about some issues that I had while working under Dr. Youssef regarding exams not being done on dogs that needed immediate medical care. One of the ones that upset me the most, and it was really appalling to me, was a dog that was picked up on Saturday, September 23rd, by the gentleman that fills in for me. He contacted Dr. Youssef right away to let him know that this dog needed immediate medical attention. The dog was suffering. The dog could not stand up. It was just very apparent to him that he needed to be examined. I do have from a good source, I'm not going to reveal any names, that there was no exam done on this dog. I arrived at the clinic that following Thursday was the next time that I was in there, actually because the guy who fills in for me asked me to go in and check on the dog because he was concerned about it. What I saw was horrifying to me. And here are the photos of that dog. As you can see, the dog was laying there suffering. It had been laying there suffering since Saturday night. It's laying in urine. It had feces stuck to its bottom. And I will pass those around for you to see if you would like. I called Dr. Youssef immediately. I asked him several times, was an exam done on this dog? Dodged the question both times. All he kept saying was, the dog's just really old. He said, we did realize the dog was microchipped, but we couldn't locate the owner based on the microchip. I said, that's not really the issue. Was an exam done on the dog? And he said, the dog's just really old. That wasn't the question. Was an exam done on this dog? Why was this dog allowed to lay there suffering for 6 days? He claims that following morning on a Friday that he finally did euthanize the dog, because I recommended it Thursday when I called him. I am absolutely against dogs being euthanized, but in this situation, it was the most humane thing to do. It was not humane to allow that dog to lay there suffering. I've got photographic evidence of other dogs that had, issues as well. I can provide those to you, or I can just provide them at the full board meeting next week. But I've also got proof that on these dogs, he claims he did an exam on them, but on the health certificate it says within normal limits. My question is, if these dogs are within normal limits, why do they have these health issues? There was no documentation of these health issues or no medical attention provided to them. So that's my concern. When it comes to job performance, is it okay for the county? You want to talk about that, well, this is embarrassing to the county. Well, how is this okay? How is it okay for our citizens to see that this is the way the dogs in our county's, animal control facility are treated? Not to mention, as Jim Devine reported to WGFA, it was Dr. Youssef's responsibility to make sure that the county had a license. He failed to do so. I think that's a little more major than anything I could have possibly done. I didn't put the county at risk for anything. So my question is, why does he still have a job?
Okay, thank you, Jamie. I assume this is one of the hundreds of dogs that were euthanized.
It was not, actually, no. That was not included.
Okay. Any other public comment? If not, we'll move on to discussion points from committee members. Anything the committee wants to bring up at this time? If not, we'll continue on. The next item is resolutions and deeds approving the sale of parcels of land acquired through the delinquent tax process. Lisa, is that your department?
I have those prepared by Ballingers. They were 10 parcels in various areas in the county. They're in Cappana, Donovan, Watsika, and Argon, Spring Creek. This wasn't all the parcels that were sold at the auction, but these are just the ones that the process has been completed. And so there's a resolution and a deed, same way we do it all the time when any parcels are sold that the delinquent tax agent is holding. So I just need a motion to approve those.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any discussion from committee members? If not, Amanda, would you call the roll, please?
Carmody,
Yes.
Okenauer.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Persley.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Signat.
Yes. We shall continue on with reports from departments. Lisa, would you like to continue?
That was basically my report, other than, just for information only, I was gonna let you know that on Tuesday at the full board meeting, it's on the agenda, you'll be approving a liquor license. It's Lakeview Country Club, and this is not normal liquor license time, but Lakeview has always had a club license, but they're no longer gonna run their own bar and restaurant, it's gonna be leased, so the person leasing it is not, can't have a club license any longer. So he's submitted all the records and fees that's needed to get a 6-month, 1 AM license.
Okay. Mindy, anything?
No, I don't have anything today.
Okay. Is Bob here? Bob's not here. Okay. Anita, do you have anything?
We did transition the dog licensing piece over to my department earlier this month. We're slow getting up to speed, to say the least. It's year end, it's a short month, we had holidays in there, and it's kind of a learning curve for us, but Mary Ann told me she felt a whole lot better at the end of last week. She was able to get a nice, good, clean deposit in. We have about 10 days of mail deposits sitting in the vault we've got to catch up on, but we're going to work on that. We're hoping that as we transition to having a portal, that will have a lot of those license renewals happen online.
Okay,
So-
would you explain what the portal involves and how it'll help us?
Well, what we're going to do, we're partway through. We've set up animal control into a separate database. What the portal will allow is citizens to access the database remotely through their own internet provider, and they'll be able to scan in their vaccine certificate, and then the next day we'll review them online, and if the certificates are valid and match the dates, they'll be approved, and then they can process payment online. So what will happen is they'll pay over the internet. The deposit will go automatically into our bank account. The treasurer's office will get a notice of the report of the deposit, and we'll be able to print out of the system a analysis of the deposits that we'll be able to reconcile. So we're hoping for, the provider, our software provider has said that typically they see close to 90% of renewals done via their portals in other counties. So we're hoping, my target is to get to 50%, but we're hoping that will alleviate a lot of this mail and manual work.
Yeah, sounds like that'll be much more efficient.
Like check or cash, they still have to come in. If they want to pay by check or cash, they still have to come.
Still have to come to the treasurer's office, yeah.
Any other comments from any department heads? There are no more. We'll move on then to animal control. Dr. Yusuf, would you give your monthly report?
So in November 2017, excuse me, we pick up or put 7 dogs to the facility. We investigate 6 dogs bite, 0 cat bites. And I just want to comment, if you allow me, just for a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. So I just want to say, like, I've been animal control for a few years now, and I have just introduced myself, as my background. Like, I have a bachelor's degree of veterinary science, master's degree in zoonosis, which is diseases between human and animals, doctor of veterinary medicine degree, diplomate of American Board of Toxicology, diplomate of American Board of Veterinary Toxicology. And I'm truly very proud of what my staff and I have been able to do in a short amount of time. And our responsibilities include running physical exams on dog coming to the facility. If Jamie brought a dog to the clinic like, after 5 o'clock, the next day, one of my nurses would bring the dog and I'd run the physical exam. She doesn't have to be attended at the physical exam time. And this is my evaluation as a veterinarian to see if this exam needs to be put down, needs to be treated, or needs to be transferred. This is my own judgment as a professional veterinarian. It's not the judgment of the animal control officer. Talking about specifically about the white dog, she's not the one who brought the dog to the clinic. It's actually Mike. And he reported to me by phone that the dog looks like, old and sick. So the next morning when I came, I checked the dog. He's kind of old, but he's not showing any signs of pain. But he had like microchip. We called the microchip people. A lady from Colorado, I think, Colorado. She said, I used to own this dog a long time ago, but I don't know who's the new owner. I cannot take a decision to put the dog down at that time because we're still looking for the owner. We have to take permission for somebody to put the dog down. And the dog was not showing any signs of pain. After like few days, and we were feeding the dog, he was eating, drinking. Yeah, he cannot go outside, to finish his business, but we clean the cages from time to time. We let him eat and drink. And then when it reached the time, nobody called us, like the original owner, or the second owner actually. I decided to put him down because he started to show signs of pain. And it was the right time to do that. So we don't put dogs down like, randomly. No, we run exam and see if this is the right time or not. And Jamie called me in the middle of, after a few days, and she said, I think this dog is showing, he's like almost dying. And I said, I am very aware about that, but I'm waiting for the right time. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened. So I'm sorry to hear some twisted facts here. We provide surgery for injured dog if needed. Like, for example, last year we saved a dog. He was in a car accident. The driver, actually the owner, died in the car accident. And Erica, she was replacing Shea at that time. She brought the dog to the clinic. Two dogs actually. One of them died for the way coming to the facility, and the other one was like bleeding from the mouth. He has a big cut in the tongue. We took him to the surgery right away. We fixed the problem, and the sister of the driver came in 2 days to pick up the dog. We didn't charge any money for that. But I just want to tell you what we are doing, what's my job doing there. And we keep the dogs in the facility from 7 to 10 days, following the law of the Illinois Animal Control Act. Moving the dogs to different shelters for adoption, running investigation in certain cases based on public reports or comments, such as, dog bites and so on. And send and investigate bad cases to the lab if needed and educate the public concerning the risk. So we send the bad and then we receive the result from the public health lab. And then I have to inform the public health, I have to inform the owner as well, or the victim, that it's negative or it's positive. Prevent the public from any communicable disease. This is one of the biggest jobs or responsibility I have. And report them to the public health. Example, last month I cooperated with Dr. Torres from the hospital here concerning a case of hookworms in human. Like she thought that the dog has hookworms transferred to the family, and I was involved in that, investigate what was going on. So just some of and talking to or have like a very close contact to Mr. Devine, the city attorney, and the public health, consulting about cases like, shall I do this, shall I do that? So we work as a team together. And so as you can see, the Animal Control Department, an important function in Iroquois County in general. So I just want to explain one important thing. I'm not a politician. I didn't take this position to engage in any false attacks or insulting. There's too much of that in this world today, and I am not interested in any of it. I would like to simply do my job and have experience and knowledge as a professional in veterinary medicine. I would like the freedom to use the knowledge to help this wonderful and welcoming community. I'm extending an invitation to the public again, and I said this before a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago. If you have concerns, please feel free to stop by my clinic for a tour or talk to me personally. my staff and I would be happy to meet with you as long as I'm in this position, and this is my big statement. I will continue to strive for the best and to find ways to improve our department, because this county, its people, and its animals deserve the best. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. Unfortunately, some people, they don't have enough knowledge about veterinary medicine. They see things differently. You can see the animal is sick, but I can see it in a different way. Maybe he's in pain for something else. Maybe he's stressed. You see some dogs have like vomiting, diarrhea because of the stress. They don't have any big issue as a disease. So this is the thing, the difference between a professional and non-professional. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to statements concerning the purpose of animal control, etc. Mr. Hur, do you have some comments that you can make for us?
At the last tax committee meeting, several county board members presented information on the animal control warden position. What was presented included a number of misrepresentations and incorrect statements of fact. Today we are going to examine documents that will establish the truth beyond any doubt that the Iroquois Animal Control Warden is a contractor and not an employee. What has just been handed to you is a copy of the county board minutes from the February 11, 2014 recess session. And in the tax committee report, the part marked in red on the second page reads as follows. The L. Schultz and Speckman discussed the need to move budget items. In the past, the animal control warden was paid as an employee, but will now be paid out of the service contracts line item. It was moved by Brett Schmidt and seconded by Whitlow to recommend to the Finance Committee to amend the budget to move warden salaries to service contracts. Motion carried by a voice vote. The other one that I handed out to you is from the Finance Committee. On the second page there, underlined in red, Speckman also provided the committee members with budget changes that she would like to have taken care of. It was moved by Russell Bills and seconded by Susan Wynn-Benz to adjust the budget line items as follows. Second one, change warden salaries, account 51320, to service contracts, account 65575, to reflect the outsourcing of warden activities. Since that time, the warden has always received a 1099 form at year end. No W-2 and no withholding for Social Security, Medicare, or federal or state income tax has occurred. Does everyone understand what this means? Before we move on, I want to be sure everyone is in agreement that the animal control warden is a contractor and not an employee.
Right here, black and white.
So we do have a contract? Okay. Have you seen the contract?
There's not a written contract, no.
So there doesn't need to be a written contract according to this because it's a service contract?
What this does is establishes that the position is a contracted position.
Gotcha.
You also have in front of you, I believe, every month, the statements that show the progress of the different items and budget items and so forth. I can pass this around in case you don't have it or aren't familiar with it, but you'll see that in 2013, warden salaries, from that point on, zero. Down below, service contracts began in 2014 and went right across. This has been established by the budget, been followed ever since that time. Anita has a copy with her of the 1099 form that was provided in case somebody wants to look at that. So my question is everyone in agreement that it's a contract?
So do we have a contract that Jamie signed?
No, sir.
Does she need to sign a contract because she is now our employee, contracted employee?
She is not she is not a contracted employee. There is no such thing. It was established that the position is an independent contractor. There doesn't have to be a written contract in order for it to be a contracted position.
Do any of the committee members have any questions or objections to what is shown in the paperwork?
No.
Can I have a comment?
Yes.
So the first day I met with Jamie, I was so clear that you are self-contracted, and the reason why is anything she spends as animal control officer, she can put in her tax, because she's getting 1099. I was so clear about that, like using the gas, using or like any uniform, any equipment you need to buy for yourself. This is going to be from your as a tax deduction, personal tax deduction, because you are self-contracted.
Do you have any questions, Jed?
No.
Mr. Persley?
Not right now.
Okay. Go on then. The distinction between contractor and employee is critical in a number of areas, especially in the matters of discipline. Contractors are not covered by the county employee policy and procedure manual. In conclusion, many of the accusations made at the last tax committee meeting are false and without merit. And we've established today that former Warden Fanning was not an employee and therefore had none of the rights of the employee policy and procedure manual. Dr. Youssef, as department head, had complete and sole authority to decide that Ms. Fanning's services were no longer needed. No evidence other than hearsay has ever been presented that John Scher and Marvin Sticknoth ever conspired with Dr. Youssef to terminate Ms. Fanning. It should also be noted that the County Board and Tax Committee does not have the authority to review or reverse actions of this type taken by a department head. That's basically what I wanted to present, gentlemen.
Okay. Any questions on what was presented?
Clear.
Yes, Sherry?
Just, my question would be then, in regards to the presentation of harassment to you and Mr. Scher, even though she was a contracted employee, we're still not going to address that as being something that Iroquois County does not approve of, harassment? I've still seen no documentation on that. I still would like to know what our stance is on that, because I don't believe that harassment in the workplace is ever something that should be tolerated.
Who harassed her?
You were spoken to by her regarding Dr. Youssef and the way he treated her and spoke with her.
Yeah, I was there too.
Okay, and
She complained that she couldn't get along with Dr. Youssef. So, she can't get along with him.
That was not the complaint that was made. I'm sorry. I didn't say, I can't get along with my boss.
You can't paraphrase.
So where's the documentation regarding those two meetings? And when has that been presented to this committee so that it could be reviewed and investigated per per the policy book, even if she's not an employee, she's a contracted employee, I don't think we want our people harassed. I don't think that's the reputation that the county wants to take on.
Mr. Devine, were we required to do that?
I think what we're talking about is a matter of semantics, okay? I mean, you and Mr. Scher are not claiming that there was any harassment. Ms. Fanning is claiming that there was harassment. So, you know, it's he said, she said. I mean, where are we going to go with this? I mean, you guys aren't going to say, well, yeah, we're guilty of harassing her, whatever that means, because nobody's defined what harassment is, by the way. So, you know, it's just a he said, she said
Even though
situation. We're not going to go
another
anywhere.
This is Robert's rules today.
So, you know, Mr. Sticknut, I don't believe that there's anywhere to go with this. There's nothing in the policy manual that deals with this. There's really nowhere to go. This is an employee, this is a person who's no longer going to be used as far as services are concerned. So,
Okay, I think that answers any concerns and questions.
Okay, can I just finish my statement?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for that positive enlightenment that you just offered. So we've set the precedent in Iroquois County then that if someone comes to anyone on this board or two people on the board and states that they are having a hard time and they feel that they are being harassed, that we will do nothing about that because we can't define harassment and we don't really know if they work for us or not, and thus far it's okay to do that. Is that the precedent that we have just set?
Ms. Johnson,
Is that the precedent?
I'm the tax committee chairman. I don't run the county board. That needs to be addressed on another level.
So you're not going to answer that question?
I answered
I
it
call
needs
to
to be
the
addressed
question.
at another level.
Thank you.
I got a question for Mr. Devine, if I may. So we don't, just to make it clear, we don't need to have any kind of job performance records submitted to us?
Tax committee
because
doesn't. And sorry to interrupt, Kevin.
No, that's fine.
Tax committee wouldn't get involved in job performance matters. That's going to be the purview of the department head, which is Dr. Newsom. So that's his call to run his office as he sees fit.
Good. So, and the same line, and then when Sherry and Larry Hashbartner were asked to attend the meeting where she was fired, and they were refused, that's totally up to Dr. Newsom then too, also?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's even in our county's code that he's in charge, the department head of animal control is in charge of disciplined personnel. And so that's his call as to how he wants to handle it. And who he wants there or who he doesn't want there is the department head's call.
I think the statutes are very clear on that.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment on the...
No, this is Robert's rules.
On the independent
No,
contractor?
no.
Okay,
You had your chance.
I didn't. There were other people speaking. I would just like to make a comment.
No, if you cannot be quiet, we'll have to have you removed.
I'd like to hear a comment.
Thank you.
I would like to hear a comment.
If the committee members request it, yes.
Thank you. So I just want to state, per the Department of Labor and the Fair Labor Standards Act, receiving a 1099 does not make you an independent contractor under the FLSA. You're claiming I'm an independent contractor because I received a 1099. According to the Department of Labor, that does not necessarily make me an independent contractor. There are many reasons to believe I was misclassified. So I just wanted to provide you with that information from the Department of Labor under that act, that just because they're claiming I received a 1099, that does not mean that I'm an independent contractor, and I just wanted to inform you of that.
We're not doing that, man.
Okay.
We're just claiming as you're an independent contractor because the county board on February 11th of 2014 said that that position is a contract.
Right, and I'm stating
Can
that
you
doesn't mean it
understand
wasn't
that?
misclassified.
Can you understand?
I'm saying that doesn't mean you misclassified here.
That's all.
I'm just stating that.
Anita, would you like to make a comment?
Right. I did the analysis in 2014 in terms of the position. I used IRS Bulletin 15A, which outlines the differences between an employee and an independent contractor. I went through both pages of questions. There are about 15 different types of how an employee is or a person is treated, what they purchased, what they don't, what training they received, what they don't. if they're using their own vehicle, if they're using your organizations. There's a myriad of things that go through. I documented that. I don't have it here with me. And when those minutes were made in 2014, I had talked with Dale Schultz at the time, and more than likely, probably the board chairman, I would think, and we discussed the proper classification based on how the position functions. Not whether the decision to give a 1099 is correct. That's not what determines a contractor or an employee. It is the way the position functions. So another example would be area-wide, where they charge us an hourly fee for the work that they do. We call them, we tell them this activity needs to take place. They either come on site or remotely log in. They take care of the activity. They send us a bill for the time. Similar to the way the function, in my mind, at that time, the analysis of the animal control warden functioned. They received a call, a dog needed to be picked up, a situation needed to be investigated. They go out in their own car, they do the work, they come back, they submit a bill for the time. Similar.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah, Larry?
Does area-wide have a written contract?
No.
Just
Time and
verbal
material.
contract? You don't have a contract that says time and material?
No. We've worked with them for 5 years.
So how do you know what to pay them in the time and material, in time? They just tell you how much they're going to charge you in time at the time they do it?
I receive a bill for the hours that they worked. I keep a log. I have a service log of the activities I requested them to do. And then when I get the bill, I make sure that it's something that I've approved them to do.
Okay, committee members, anything else? We will not be going into executive session. Does anyone want to discuss the eye care presentation from last month? If not, is there any old business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting adjourned.